Hello, everybody. After what feels like an eternity, we are all back together to talk about a band that you have all been looking forward to us finally getting into. So I'm sure you've seen the title of the video and whatever stupid image I used for the thumbnail. We are going to be listening to Megadeth. And specifically, I am going to be listening to Megadeth for the first time, with the exception of a couple of things, which we'll get into in a second here. So very much looking forward to this. People have brought up Megadeth a lot when we're talking about Metallica. And speaking of Metallica, I just want to say, if you're watching this video and you're unfamiliar with this channel, you happen to stumble across this video because you like Megadeth, just know that over the last year and a half or so, we went through and we listened to the entirety of Metallica's catalog, really breaking it down, trying to talk about production things. And my eye got to listen to almost all of their albums for the first time. The only Metallica album I had heard was the Black Album. And so we went through and we listened to their entire catalog. We did not do it
of the studio records.
Of the studio albums, yes, because we haven't done much live stuff yet, but I'm really starting to look forward to that, I think. And we haven't done Symphony of Metallica yet, and we still have the second disc of Garage Inc. to do, and people keep asking every single day I get comments, where is Am I Savage? Where is Am I Savage? Where is Am I Savage?
Oh, from
the second disc or the third disc of Death Magnetic or of Hardwired.
Oh, yes.
People are like, why are you skipping that song? I think that's what it is. Anyway.
I think so. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
Am I Evil is from Garage, but yeah.
Yeah, so regardless, people are still looking forward to that stuff. So just know, if you're someone who's new here, we have a lot of that stuff on the channel. Check out some of those videos. I have a whole Metallica playlist that I just upload all our Metallica videos into, so you can just click on that and see all the different videos. They're very, very, very long, and a lot of people just think of them like podcasts rather than videos, and that's cool. A lot of people put them on and listen to them while they're driving from place to place, or listening to them at work or whatever, and they can't necessarily watch the video. They just listen to them like a podcast, and I think that's really cool too. But the fact that we have the video for you here is just a little added bonus. So I also have to say, speaking of Metallica, I have to apologize. So this is now for everybody who has been with the channel and been watching. The last Metallica video we uploaded was a video that Chris Parker and I did of watching Metallica live for the first time. And did people rake me over the coals?
I knew they would.
Comment in that section. You did. You called it out, and I even called it out. I said, people are going to really hate me because I talked over that whole thing. And boy, did they. They sure did. And so in my defense, in that particular video, it was the first time we were doing a video like that, which isn't a good excuse, but it was a little bit of a different setup and everything. And also, I was kind of approaching that from the perspective of like two people just hanging out on a couch, like just watching a thing and like talking about how silly or whatever it was. I wasn't approaching it from the like analyze it and really focus on it mindset. And I realize now that that's what people want from us. And so that is what we're going to be doing. And so I apologize for performing so poorly in that video, but because of what happened in that video, I have tried to reassess how I want to do things on this channel. And so one of the things I want to do moving forward, and you two guys both Chris's can be a part of this as well if you want, but I've seen a couple of other channels do this, and I really appreciated the idea to do this. In the future, when we're doing something that I know a lot about, I am going to write it out first. I'm going to write out my opening statement or whatever first, and I will just read it from the paper. And if you guys want to interrupt me while I'm reading it, that's fine. We can talk about whatever. But rather than meandering through like the billion things, bullet points I have in my head, I will write it out, read it, and then we can move on to a conversation rather than having me just like take a half hour at the beginning of every video where we're listening to a band for the first time, just wasting everybody's time trying to go through everything I know about the band. Like, it doesn't really matter. So I want to try to do better with things like that. And I want to try to do better with not talking over things so much. And also I want to try to do better with just talking less in general, because I feel like when I go back and edit our videos, I constantly feel like Chris Parker kind of gets the raw end of the deal, because Chris and I are here and it's so much easier for us to talk about things and give verbal confirmation and stuff. So I want to try to leave spaces in the conversation so that either of you can go in and add whatever comments you might have about whatever we're listening to. So I want to try to do better in the future as a host, and we'll see how that works. I'll probably ruin it just in this video and talk for 40 minutes now, but I'm going to try to do better. Also, Polyphia sucks. So, with all of that being said, and one still sucks, by the way, Metallica's worst song ever.
Yep, it's all crap.
However, it does have the coolest Metallica single art. So if anyone wants to get into that discussion, you can join our Discord. Link for that will be in the comments or in the description of this video. We're talking about all sorts of things, and we use the Discord for polls to tell us which albums and which Megadeth songs to listen to in this very video. So in this video, we will be seeing a concrete example of our first attempt at using the Discord to try to truly get what people want us to listen to. And feel free to go there and engage in all the conversation about Metallica and about the channel and all the other bands you want us to listen to, all that good fun stuff.
What a great segue.
Yeah.
Bring up the data.
Bring up the data. Okay, so when we first had the idea to do this, I thought it was a little too, I know I'm talking, but I don't know if that's what you were laughing about, but I feel like we have to explain. We have to explain. So
talk at some point.
So what a poll is.
No. Okay, all I was going to say was, since this is the first time we're doing Megadeth, two things. First of all, if I hate Megadeth, I am not going to sit here and tell you that I'm going to listen to their 20 albums over the next 2 years. We're not doing it. Also, if we listen to Megadeth and every song that they released gets a copyright on YouTube and we can't use the audio in these videos, guess what? Megadeth go bye-bye on the channel, and we don't do them anymore because I'm not going to waste my time editing these videos only to upload them and then find out that all my work was basically for nothing because no one's going to sit there and watch a video that doesn't have the audio in it. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to listen to 4 specifically picked Megadeth songs from across 4 of their albums spanning their entire career, and a couple of bonus songs that we ourselves wanted to just kind of show each other. So the way we came up with this data was I had 2 polls. The first poll was basically I took the first 9 albums in Megadeth's catalog, and I said, vote which one you want us to... I actually told everyone to vote twice. So in these polls, I had it so that people could vote as many times as they wanted. I said, please vote twice and vote on your 2 favorite Megadeth albums from this list. And so on this list in particular, Rust in Peace, their 1990 album, won with 40 votes and 44% of the votes. This is out of 90 votes total. The second album that had the second most votes was Peace Sells, But Who's Buying from 1986, which is their second album. So those are the 2 albums we're going to listen to from the earlier, like basically the first half of their catalog. The second half of their catalog, I did a separate poll, and we did their second, I think, 8 albums. Yeah. So there was 8 most recent albums, and we actually had, no, it wasn't a tie. With 6% of the vote, 18 votes total, their album from, I think, 2016, Dystopia, won the vote. So we're going to listen to a song from Dystopia, and it's the self-titled song from that album, so it's just Dystopia. And then the second most votes was 17 votes with 25% of all the voting from their album Endgame from 2006, I believe. And it's a song called Head Crusher or Beat Crusher or something like that. We'll get to that.
Head Crusher, yeah.
Head Crusher. We'll get to that when we get to it. So those are going to be the 4 songs that we specifically chose, that were specifically chosen by everybody. And I did do polls for each album individually, but we don't need to go over those because
what a nice community that not everybody just spammed Super Collider like as a joke.
Yeah.
I don't know Super Collider.
It got ripped apart on the internet when it came out really bad.
I was kind of surprised. The only I have 2. I have 2 Megadeth CDs. I have their 1999 album Risk, which I bought used somewhere. And I have, more recently, I bought their 1992 album, Countdown to Extinction, which I swear I've heard that name before. And this has Symphony of Destruction on it, which I think is one of their biggest songs throughout their whole career, right?
I think so.
Yep.
I think that Symphony of Destruction must have been on a video game soundtrack, like probably Tony Hawk or something like that at some point. And yeah, the disc for that I left in my laptop accidentally upstairs. So in case you're wondering why the disc isn't in there. So I was surprised that this album did not win. So that tells you right there that people were really voting with what they personally liked rather than just with what was their most popular. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that album isn't super popular. I don't know. But so I'm really excited to get into this. I was debating that maybe the song we should listen to first is the one Megadeth song that I'm very familiar with, to try to give you guys a nice laugh before we get into what I assume is a slightly more serious Megadeth. So, or do you want to just listen to it in chronological order?
What's the one that you...
It's a song called Crush 'Em from 1999.
Okay.
And I loaded it into our thing here. We don't have to listen to the original version unless you guys really want to. But I have the version that came on...
Risk.
On WCW The Music, WCW Mayhem The Music, this awesome compilation featuring Slayer, Megadeth, Metallica, Kid Rock, Limp Bizkit, Jadakiss, Screwball, Kurt Hennig and the West Texas Rednecks, if you know, you know, rap is crap. And a bunch of other awesome, Big Pun featuring Fat Joe, Rough Riders,
What's Slayer's
all that
song?
stuff.
You said 3 bands, and then that list went straight into the toilet.
I know. I did that. I did it that way on purpose. Here Comes the Pain. It's the one that's like, something starts here. I just listened to it yesterday a little bit. It's got a great riff.
What year did that come out?
Probably around 1999.
Okay, that was going to be.
I think most of them are right around there. The production on that was kind of interesting, and I know people really want us to do Slayer, and we'll get to it eventually. I even bought a special shirt for that video when we do. The other thing I should say at the beginning here is this Megadeth thing, the way we're doing this with the polls and a song from 4 albums spread out across their catalog, this is a test to see if this works. And if this works, I want to do this with Slayer, Iron Maiden, Pantera, any other band that we want to do this with, we'll do it. And then we'll see what sticks, what I like, what you guys like, if we do a band that you guys haven't heard that much. Like, what do we want to focus our time and attention on that also gets some views too? Because unfortunately, I don't want to waste a bunch of time. A majority of the videos on my channel are wasting time doing stuff I want to do, and then nobody watches them, right? I uploaded my Gangsta Grass reaction last week, and it's got 100 views on it, and that's fine. That's great. Great album. Just came out this year. Fantastic. But it probably won't get much more than 100 views, right? This Megadeth video will probably get 5,000 views, if not more. And if we posted a Metallica video, it would get between 10 and 60,000 based on what we're listening to. So it's like, why not do the stuff that people want to see? But I'm always going to dedicate time on the channel to do the stuff that I want to do. So don't worry, that stuff's not going to go away. Not that anybody cares except for the 109 of you that will watch it.
Well, it's your channel, and you got to do something you like, or else why are you doing it?
Exactly. And so...
Plus, it gives me the opportunity to smirk every time that you listen to something that's not worth listening to.
Right, exactly. Yeah, for sure.
And it has 100 views. I do. Chris Parker does too. He's just too nice to admit it.
No, that's fine. I don't care.
What do I do?
You smirk when you see that
Chris
Patrick's
has done
favorite records get 80 views on YouTube.
I don't know if I smirk. I definitely look at it and go,
Chris has done reactions to me where the videos have gotten less views than that. So he understands how I feel.
I only come in for the big money
You only come in for Polyphia and
which I
that
like.
Yeah. Whatever. We're not talking about Polyphia in this video.
We're not talking about Polyphia, but
if you know, you know.
Unlike another band.
There's footage.
But just so that you guys are aware, the Slayer song on here is Here Comes the Pain. The Metallica song that's on here is Seek and Destroy Live.
What?
Version. It's from I think around that time.
Oh well, okay.
And the thing that's cool about it is this version of Metallica, this is going to go against everything I've ever said, but the version of Seek and Destroy that's on here is way better than the version that's on Kill 'Em All. The version that's on Kill 'Em All is way slower.
I ain't touching that.
It's way slower.
They do tend to play it a lot faster live. Is that a specific live version that you can find anywhere else, or is it?
It is. It was the Woodstock version, so it's from their Woodstock show.
Oh,
so what year was Woodstock? Was that 97 or 90? Was there one in 99? Well, no.
I think it was 99.
That was
99. So yeah,
I think 99.
So it would have been from that. The really cool
Biscuit was there. That would have been cool.
The really cool thing about that performance of Seek and Destroy, and maybe they do this all the time, I don't know. I haven't seen really any Metallica live stuff other than the few songs we reacted to. When he gets to the Seek and Destroy part, he just lets the crowd shout it.
Oh yeah.
And and it sounds really good. So it's like, but also listening to it, this would have been when Jason was in the band, and when they're doing the running on the way of riding or whatever the words are, like it sounds like there's more than just one dude doing the background vocals for James. So I don't know if they were using tracks at this point or what, but it's clearly James doing the live vocals, and I think Jason doing the background screams.
Yeah.
But it sounds like there's more than just that in there, and it really does sound like a group of, maybe they had a guest musician on stage. I don't even know what the situation is.
Unlikely.
It doesn't even say from Woodstock on here. I just know that that's what it is, and he says "Good evening, Woodstock."
Oh, interesting.
At the beginning, but apparently it's a really well-known recording, and when I talked about this in another Metallica video, people brought it up. So anyway, that's this. This also has the first Megadeth song I ever heard, which is Crush 'Em from their 1999 album Risk, which I do have a copy of over here. And the interesting thing about that is the version that's the Goldberg intro theme song has the second verse and second chorus completely cut out. Mm-hmm. So it's like a minute and a half shorter, and they also have different drums at the beginning, and it's a slightly different sort of mix at the beginning, and then once it gets into the actual song itself, it's basically the same mix. So that's interesting.
Well, that's what we got to listen to now with all that build up.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and listen to that one first, and you guys can really laugh, and then we'll go back in time to 1986, and I'll hear my first real Megadeth song.
I've never heard this either. So
yeah, so I'm really excited for you guys to hear this. Because you're going to be so mad at me, because at the end of this video, this is going to still be my favorite Megadeth song, and every person on the planet is going to hate me. And I'm totally fine with it, because this song rips.
Are we doing the original one or the old one?
We're going to do the Crush 'Em new Goldberg theme. Okay. Yeah. And the only reason I threw Goldberg's theme in there is because that track fades into this track. So at the very beginning, when we start the track that we're going to listen to, that's 3 minutes and 12 seconds long, Chris. That track starts with, you can hear the crowd chanting Goldberg, Goldberg, and then there's like a little crowd noise that then sort of gently fades out as the song fades in. So we don't need to piss around with the stuff before that, but we'll just go ahead and listen to this. Okay, are you ready, Chris?
Yep.
So this is Crush 'Em by Megadeth, originally from their 1999 album Risk, but this is the version that was on WCW Mayhem the Music, coming out the same year. In 3, 2, 1. I'm really curious how much of an accurate representation of Megadeth this is. I can sing this entire song from front to back. Yeah? Is that really Megadeth-y? No?
It is. That's why I love Dave Mustaine.
Let's go. That's my favorite part. I love that part. Yeah? Okay, now it's going to switch kind of into the mix from the album. Everything's different, basically. That is how it happens on the album too, but it's a little different.
Yeah, this makes sense. Lots of things make sense when I listen to this.
I think I could play all of this on the guitar, like today. like with maybe 10 minutes of prep.
There's some foreshadowing in that comment.
Oh, wait, stop. I forgot that was going to happen. Oh, my God.
Why can't you just set it to not do that?
There is a way to do it, but I don't know how. I heard good music there for a second. Okay, so there's you can only do it once. So you have to. It's like a quick key, and you do it while the song's playing, and then it will stop.
You can't just set it to do that all the time?
No, huh?
You're sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Let me read you this entry.
Don't pay
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Let me read you this entry from Wikipedia. Risk, released in August of '99, was a critical and commercial failure and led to backlash from many longtime fans as it was completely devoid of metal. Dave Mustaine said, "We hit the bottom of our career with Risk."
Dave Mustaine said that about himself?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, no. Devoid of metal.
Yeah.
That's why I said, listening to that now, which I will say the album version of that song does have there's a little bit more like lead guitar stuff in there for one of the sections, and it is a bit more like metal-y, I suppose, but for the most part it's pretty much the same thing with a couple things cut out. But
there's parts of that song that remind me of Viva Las Vegas by Elvis.
I really like the gang vocal crush things. I love that. And that's one of my favorite things. I've been listening to Children of Bodom a lot recently. I've just been going back through their catalog. And I really like the shouty gang vocal stuff. And I was curious because Metallica, to my knowledge, only ever did that in maybe 2 songs. And I've heard almost everything that they've done. And I was really disappointed because
the studio albums, though.
Just the studio albums, yeah. Do they do that more live?
Well, yeah, they bring in extra guys to do it.
They do not. Shut up. But choir, 72-piece choir to just go, ugh, yeah.
I would love that.
But one thing I wanted to say is, now that everyone's good and mad that that's what we listen to, I would love to stop this video and just say that's Megadeth. But no, I know everyone would get real mad. Plus, I understand that that's people were saying that Megadeth had a phase in the 2000s that was similar to Metallica's Load and Reload, and that I don't think that there are a lot of Metallica fans that look at Load and Reload very fondly. I think me and Chris Parker are 2 people that do that. From what I heard, the little bit that I read online though was that people don't see this era of Megadeth that fondly at all.
Was there any good metal at this point in time?
In the year 2000?
Yeah, mid to late 90s up through 2000. I'm sort of getting this vibe that all of the best...
The good Pantera albums came out in the mid 90s, but...
Okay.
Honestly, I don't know.
It feels like there was this huge metal surge from the mid to late 80s up through the mid to late 90s, and then metal seemed to continuously do this thing that Metallica and Megadeth both did, and that's where new metal came from, was a new type of metal to take its place in a different form, because it all had sort of turned into this weird butt rock.
Well, I
don't know enough about metal at the time to know.
I think that was the reason that happened was these heavier bands. Well, first of all, Megadeth and Metallica, maybe not the exact perfect examples of this, but because they had already been around for a decade plus at this point, so maybe they were both looking to change things up and they just needed a little bit of a push. But also Metallica changed their stuff way earlier. They changed their sound in 1991, a decade before this. But I think the reason so many metal, heavier bands decided to try to go more mainstream at this time was because this was the time when we were all in high school, or right before that, I guess junior high, junior varsity. This was the time when metal was been like the most popular it's ever heavy. Sorry, I shouldn't say metal. There are certain people here who would get mad at my use of the word metal in this instance. But heavy music was as mainstream popular as it has ever been at this point, with Korn and Stained and Rob Zombie and Power Man 5000 and all those bands we mention all the time. Those were bands that were popular before nu metal really became a thing. Then they got lumped into the nu metal stuff in the 2000s. But the late 90s is when all of those bands, and Korn, obviously, his first album came out in 1992, 1991. So, like, they were different. Limp Bizkit's first album came out in 1997, and a lot of people... 97 for Limp Bizkit. Korn's first album
came out in
91, I think, or 92.
Wow, that's crazy. I did not know that.
Yeah. And that's the one with, I think, Shoots and Ladders on it. But is that
so.
Life is Peachy? No, Life is Peachy's later. It doesn't matter. I don't have any of that earlier.
Korn came out in 1994. Follow the Leader was in 1998.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Okay, so 94, 98. But I thought they had two albums come out.
If you're wondering if there was good metal that came out in the 90s, I mean, Korn came out.
Yeah.
So there you go.
But they got way better after that when they did dubstep and stuff. But anyway, my whole point with all of this was just that I think that heavy bands realized they could break out, like the way Green Day did, right? Which Green Day's not necessarily a heavy band, but they were like an undergroundy punk type of band, and then they started to get more mainstream and became like the biggest band in the world at the time. Blink-182, same thing, kind of.
And Offspring did the same thing.
That's like pop punk type thing, but I think a lot of bands realized they could do this. And then we had all those bands that were kind of like riding the line between like what kind of music is this, like All American Rejects and Plain White Tees and all that kind of junk. But then we also had stuff like Jimmy Eat World, right? Which Jimmy Eat World has stuff that I think borders on nu metal. But they're also pop punky mostly, so I don't know. But anyway, nothing has to do with Megadeth. So let's cleanse the palate of all that stuff because none of that really matters. We're going to go back in time to 1986 now, the year that one of the best Depeche Mode albums came out, Black Celebration. The year that Master of Puppets came out. Master of Puppets came out. And we're going to listen to a song from Megadeth's first album. Now, to put this into perspective slightly, in our Discord, people were talking about make sure you guys listen to the original masters of this because the songs have been remastered twice. They were remastered in 2004, and I guess that was a process that was called remixed, remastered, and reissued or something like that. And they did like Megadeth did their whole catalog up to that point. And I don't know if they released it in a big set or they just released everything separately on CD. I'm not sure exactly how that worked, but it was a pretty big deal. And they went into the studio and like literally changed some of the mixes. And so a lot of people were saying, don't listen to those mixes, listen to the original mixes. So I've got a copy of the original mixes here. However, earlier this morning when I was getting ready for this video, someone in our Discord was like, hey, you should maybe do a comparison to the 2004 mix. So we're going to do that. Hey, I just realized that the dehumidifier is on in there. I'm going to go shut that off. Okay, so basically, sorry for the interruption. I had to go do something. So basically, we've got two different versions of this song. We can listen to them both and talk about the mix because that's what we try to focus on our channel here, at least a little bit is the mix, things like that. So we're going to do that. But before we get into that, do either of you guys have any information for me in terms of like Megadeth and the early part of their career? Because I am aware that Dave Mustaine, who I believe is the singer and guitar player for Megadeth.
That is correct.
He was in Metallica originally, and he actually wrote a lot of the stuff, or he wrote a significant amount of the parts of the songs that ended up being on their first album, Kill 'Em All, including some solos and stuff. And then they broke up for whatever reason. I'm not even sure why that is. And then he went on to form Megadeth. And then the Megadeth career trajectory has kind of followed Metallica a little bit, but they are definitely two separate entities. So I don't know. Do either of you guys have anything interesting for me, a person who doesn't know really anything about Megadeth other than what I just told you about their early part of their career?
Well, he was. It was
their
in
first
Metallica.
album came out after Metallica's first album, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's not credited with anything on the first one.
This is their second album from '86.
Well, you said it was the first one earlier.
Killing
This is
is
the
My
first
Business
album we're
was
going to
80
listen to. I probably misspoke.
85.
Oh, yeah, the first one we're going to listen to. Let me just look up some stuff here.
I probably misspoke multiple times already.
Yeah, so like the only thing of his that's in Kill 'Em All is the Four Horsemen shares a lot of riff work with his song Mechanics. Like the main riff is very much the same, but I think Metallica's version is a little bit slower and has that melodic piece in the middle that's separate.
Okay.
But
why would this?
Yeah, he was
not
just
be?
they kicked him out because of substance abuse and personal conflicts with James and Lars. I don't know to what extent, but
that's so interesting because Metallica's
in
entire existence as a band has to do with substance abuse and internal conflict.
Well, see, you say that, but one thing that I was...
He must have been a real douchebag to get kicked out of a band that's known for being that for 40 years.
Well, and that's the thing, though. It's like, as I was reading through like a whole bunch of stuff about the band this morning, the number of members that have existed in Megadeth...
Oh, that's not good.
Total is 39.
Oh, my gosh. That's not a good sign.
Right. And I'm going through and I'm reading through the history, and it's like, it's just a constant onslaught of people dealing with substance abuse issues. And it made me realize how probably rare and or unique it is for Metallica to have so few members over such a period of time, being a metal band from the 80s.
Oh, sure.
Or that started in the 80s. Like, because it seems like, because these guys, I mean, they're talking like, no, maybe not. Maybe not.
I don't know. Slayer only had a couple drummers.
Okay.
Up until like the modern age, right after Jeff died, but
maybe they're part of the exception.
Well, it's just right. Well, it's just the reason I thought of it that way is like it's talking about like all the different bands that they toured with and all the different people that came in and out of Megadeth, and how many of them are from other metal bands over time, and like every one of them just has some substance abuse issues that caused them to not work out as a band or not be able to tour or some other things. So I'm imagining it like kind of like a tree roots, where it's like every one of these dudes from all of these other bands all have drug problems. So it must be running wild in the genre at the time. And it's crazy that, even with the substance abuse issues that Metallica had over the years and internal personal conflicts, it was always just, we've got 4 dudes and we've only ever just replaced the bass player twice. Like, that seems pretty crazy.
Okay, so that's interesting. So the thing that I'm most excited for this video in particular is I now have a reference for what I believe this style of music is, using Metallica as that template, right? Now, I know that that template really only exists on their first 3 albums, because after that, Metallica decided they were going to be dumb for basically 25 or 30 years in a row.
After how many albums?
3, right? Because then they decided we don't need bass, and then they decided we're not going to be metal anymore, and then they decided we're going to let Rick Rubin.
Good, though.
Justice is fine, but it has no bass. That's stupid. Anyway, so whatever. Regardless of Metallica or whatever, I do feel like I have, at least if nothing else, a better idea of like what a really good metal album could sound like in the early to mid 80s, right? So I'm hoping that what we hear here sounds at least as good as Master of Puppets. If not better, maybe than Master of Puppets. We'll see. I do think Master of Puppets sounds pretty good, and I do think it sounds better than Ride the Lightning. I do think Kill 'Em All maybe sounds better than Ride the Lightning, and not necessarily better than Master of Puppets. I guess I'd have to compare those two a little bit more. But shall we just get into this and listen to the original version first?
Yes, original version first.
Okay, original version first. So this might be we might have to turn this up a little, which I actually have my Winamp up almost all the way, Chris. So we'll have to see what happens for us, but I'll try to adjust it so we can hear. Are you ready, Chris?
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is Peace Sells from 1986, Megadeth. This is the original mastered version in 3, 2, 1. All right, starting out with bass.
The bass sounds really good.
Yeah, it does.
It does.
Something Metallica didn't quite figure out for quite a while.
Snare also sounds incredible.
Too much reverb, but
Vocals are a little low. does sound like a Weird Al song.
I was thinking like Faith No More.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Much better comparison.
And then this all of a sudden gets into hair metal. Like Guns N' Roses or some dumb crap like that. I like the guitar riffs a lot. Like very simple. Like this could absolutely be a band that does a WWE entrance theme song. You know? Very weird, like vocal rhythm thing. It's kind of like talking, really.
Yeah.
That for some reason that one line sounds familiar to me. I'll be the first in line. I don't know if I heard that sample somewhere once. Cool guitar harmony stuff there. Guitar solo off to the right. Oh, maybe that's a little transition piece. Other guitarist now doing something. Well, you can really, it's very raw, mixed, you can still, like, they didn't cut out all the stuff they could have cut out.
What?
Like, you hear clicking in the guitars when they were switching on to possibly a pedal push or something coming on in there. Something weird like that. Okay, so we've doubled the tempo here, or they're going twice as fast, or maybe not even twice.
Does it sound like there's like a crunchy distortion in there that's not
Yes.
necessarily supposed to be there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like flipping. That's some digital thing with the file, I'm sure.
Yeah, probably. Ooh, double bass. Something Metallica doesn't do very often.
Someone did earlier.
Someone yelled at me in the comments, and I was like, no, dude, I've heard all of Metallica now. And they don't do this very often.
Not very often.
And I'm obviously a Metallica expert now, so take my word for it. So they're kind of doing that shouty gang vocal thing here, too.
This is a very... that Metallica...
A lot of this is very Metallica.
But not Metallica in 1986.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if this is the same year as Puppets, like that is a Puppets riff through and through.
Really? I don't know. See, I just think of Puppets as being so much faster than that song. Like Godsmack could play that song.
Well, it doesn't. I'm not talking speed. I just mean the riff itself.
Yeah, but I guess I don't know. To me, I guess...
Like that's a Creeping Death riff, you know. Bum, 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 bum.
Well, it's kind of like...
I guess Creeping Death is one of those songs that doesn't stick with me enough for you to... I don't even have a frame of reference when you say that. Other than I know that they have that part in the bridge of this song where they do that kind of back and forth response part, I think. Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool. Okay, so full disclosure here, people. We were having a bit of trouble finding the original mix. So I don't know what that's... We're hoping that that's the original mix, but we were hearing some artifacting in there that we think might have come from... You know,
maybe
some digital thing or something. So we're hoping that doesn't sound too bad. I'm hoping that is a faithful representation of the way the album originally sounds.
It's not the 2004 one. We can
we
tell
know
you
that for sure. And so so now, okay, so hold on.
Or it's different than
that, yeah.
There are two very different versions, and that is one of them.
I didn't mention this earlier, but they also did remaster their catalog, or some of their catalog, I guess, in 2011. They went back and remastered, I think, just from the original files. They remastered them in 2011, I assume, just kind of compressing things more and everything. That 2011 version, I did see some people online saying they do enjoy the 2011 version because it's just sort of like a more compressed version, basically, of the original mixes or the original mastering. So we'll see.
But it's a little bit of an aside. Mm-hmm. As Patrick looks at the clock, it won't take that long.
That's all right. No.
But the streaming thing, while it is great, I know it doesn't pay artists enough. That's another discussion completely. Mm-hmm. But just from like the consumption end, streaming is cool because like
until it is.
For example, right, like I listen to like so many different things. Like if I could not physically hold all of the physical media that it would take to listen. Like, right, if we're going back like 2 generations, back to even when we had CDs, like I would have to bring a CD booklet with me and I would be constantly changing them, like while I'm at work to like recreate the listening that I do while I'm at work, like where I'm switching artists every 3 songs.
Right.
And like listening to all this stuff that I'm just like listening to recreationally. Like I don't even think I'm going to like, this is not like what I like, but I want to listen to it for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. I think I can hear compression or clipping on my voice too. Anyway, yeah, I can see I'm hitting the red when I get loud. I'll just back off a little bit. But it makes it so hard to find, which in a way is good for the artist that like you can probably only get the version that they want you to hear at the time.
That's true.
But like, you kind of, as an artist, you sort of have more control over that. But when you're going to go do the comparisons, it makes it more difficult to do these comparisons that we're trying to do here, because you don't ever really know what you're getting. Yeah, like unless you have the physical media from 1986, which would have probably largely been on cassette tape, you know, like it's really hard to trace that this would be what that is.
Yeah, and we did go look on Spotify, and on Spotify they only had the 2011 remaster and the 2004 remaster, and they had those separately listed, like just right in a row chronologically with their catalog. So it took a little digging to find the original version. So.
And like, I mean, who knows? And like, I know that we've said stuff like this before, but if it were me and I was even going to like reissue something, if it was my music and like on disc 2 was going to be like the whole original version of the thing without the thing that without the redo that I'm doing now.
Right.
If there was something that I really found offensive about the first recording, like if I'm like, there's just not enough high end. Let's just do that. And I totally would. Yeah. And I would just like, right, if you made big changes to the mastering, like if you got it up to competitive levels in, you know, whatever, 2004 or 2024, whatever it is, compared to 1986, like if that was your big change, but like also you just knew that a 1986 version was like, you know, for example, deficient in a high frequency, I would just go put a high shelf on it and just like be like, yep, it's still the same thing. And like no one's ever going to be able to do the comparison between, you're never going to be able to make a meaningful comparison between the CD and what's on streaming anyway. So who would ever know?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be really hard
it's
to
just
test.
weird.
Hold on.
Constant.
Sorry. I'm sorry, Chris. I love you guys so much, but I want to talk about Megadeth. Okay? Because I hated that. That guy sounded like a total doof. Like, what do you mean I don't like that song? What do you mean you don't want to? Like, what the hell was he trying to do there? That was like a comedy song. Why would you people vote for that song? Is that the best song on that album? Because if it is,
it's a very popular
if it
one.
is, holy cow. Okay, but now that out of the way, okay, I'm being slightly like, I'm joking around. Like, I do think that it was interesting. First of all, I was expecting this to be fast like Metallica. Is every Metallica song fast? No. When I think of Kill 'Em All, when I think of Metallica from this era, I think of Master of Puppets, which is way faster than this song was. I'm not necessarily saying tempo, but like to me, Metallica is not chug, 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 chug. Metallica is what's the riff from Master of Puppets? Yeah, that kind of does. Yeah, that kind of thing. It's not chug, 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 chug. Right? It's not something I could play on the guitar. Right?
They talk about Hetfield's jackhammer arm, you know, and it's this,
right. And I know that that's like a special thing Metallica does, but like so much metal is just so fast, right? So when I hear this, to me, when he in the chorus, when he switched over to like singing, my initial gut reaction was just like, bleh. Like this is like we've entered Guns N' Roses like White Snake Striper territory with the vocals, and I was just like, wow, yuck. I get like it sounds like he's doing it in a mocking way, and I don't think that he is. Right? Like that's just now. I also know being a person with an enjoyable voice, right? You can only sing in a way that you can sing, right? God gave you the voice that He gave you.
Oh, I think you're going to
reason.
learn about the different ways that Dave Mustaine can sing.
Okay, I'm good. I hope
the rest of this is going to be a lot of fun.
I hope so. I'm excited for that. So we won't take too much time. We'll get to that. But like my first impression, like I kind of thought that he was joking around in the other song, like the right? Like you can't do that seriously, right? Like that's heads I win, tails you lose, out of my way I'm coming through. Like no one sings like that seriously, okay?
So
no
you
one
say
does.
that.
You say that. But
I know at least one guy who does, and it's Dave Mustaine.
Okay. So with that being said, I have read lots of comments about Megadeth, and I have seen people saying like Patrick won't like Dave's vocals, all this stuff. So I was coming in expecting it to be kind of weird, and I did know that Megadeth song, but I also had a fair idea that that was off of an album that everybody hated, and I thought, well, maybe he's just doing this on this album, and like before that he was doing more. But if you also know, watching this, if you watched our Metallica content, that I was shocked that throughout Metallica's entire career, James has never had harsh vocals. Ever. They're the only metal band that's considered like representation of metal, and he never had harsh vocals ever. It's with the exception of maybe one or two times, and that was all on Kill 'Em All, right? And so, which is why I like Kill 'Em All more than Ride the Lightning, and I think probably even more than Master of Puppets.
I think you're just getting your timeline mixed up because like
maybe I could
because
be.
like you could make the same argument for Slayer. I think that you could probably make the same argument for Anthrax. You could make the same argument for Testament.
But I don't know any of those bands really.
Well, right.
So like,
That's
maybe at this time, I mean, it probably was at this time. It wasn't, the harsh vocals weren't as big of a thing. And
but there is double bass.
In this, for sure.
Yeah, there's right,
Yep.
and the guitars are really distorted.
I liked the way the guitar sounded. I was going to get to that in a second. Mix-wise, I do like the way the guitar sounded. I thought the snare had a little bit too much reverb on it, but that is very much of the time. So I'm not going to like blame that on them trying to hide anything or whatever. That is just of the time in the 80s. That's how Ride the Lightning is just filled with reverb all over the place. I don't even know necessarily in a detrimental way to that album, because I do think that album sounds good overall. I liked towards the end of the song when they were doing something a little bit different vocally. You could tell that I think he was overdubbing himself, or there was another person in the band doing it, but I think it was Dave, maybe Dave again. And they were doing that sort of what I liked so much in the Crush 'Em song. Like I love the just enormous amount of people just going like crush, like that's cool to me. And maybe a little eye rolly, but like I like that kind of stuff. As I said, I love Children of Bodom, and they do that kind of stuff all the time. And so like,
But so you are saying that reverb on gang vocals is okay, but reverb on snare drums is not?
No, I don't. I would like the gang vocals just as much as they are dry. Like I'm not saying I like the rush. Like I just like the fact that it's a bunch of different voices all doing it, like a shouting.
I think
I don't think the reverb was. I'm
not saying it was bad. I don't think it was that bad. I just think
what Patrick wants is 8 snare drums hitting at the same time. That's what.
No, I want 8 vocals at the same time. I want one good sounding snare drum, dry as a popcorn fart, as Cleet used to say. I just want dry drums is what I want, basically. Or I want to hear some room tone in them if they're trying to do that, go that way with it. I don't want reverb on everything. But also there's I have heard lots of great drums that have a lot of effects on them. So I guess, I don't know. I did not dislike that mix. I didn't dislike it. And I do think that there was some artifacting happening with the file we found that probably wasn't the best thing in the world, but like, what it is what it is. So now let's listen to the 2004 version of this song. Mm-hmm. From what I gathered, like I can't remember if I said this on or not, because we just recorded a bunch of stuff and didn't have it included and blah, blah, blah. So like, from what I gathered reading just a few comments on Discord this morning, people were saying that Dave didn't like the way some of it sounded, and so he went in and re-recorded some guitar parts, some vocal parts, and they changed the way some of the drums sounded.
And they did this in 2004.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
That is almost 30 years after the fact. That just, I mean, part of me says that, like, lots of bands should do that.
I agree.
But also, in a way, I would think that no band should do that ever.
But the thing is, like,
be illegal.
Right. What I was going to say was, the original version still exists. However, we just talked for a while about how the original version is harder to find. You know what I mean? Because like normally I would say like, oh, well, the artist should have the right to feel free to go in and change them. Like, I wish that they would change Saint Anger so much, you know, like I wish that they would change that. I know you guys are enjoying it. That's great. I'm happy for you. That's definitely the Metallica album I've listened to the least, and I want to go through and listen to. It's the one Metallica CD I don't have on CD now yet. So I'm looking for a copy of that cheap eventually.
There's one laying in a ditch somewhere that my brother threw out the window.
But so anyway, let's go ahead and listen to this, and we'll just see how different it sounds. Chris, do you have any specific information on the 2004 remaster at all, or?
I don't really know.
Okay, that's fine. I just know this was something we kind of decided on the spur of the moment to do this morning, right before we kind of sat down to do this, because someone recommended we do this. So we're going to be talking about this from a mixed perspective and just kind of see. I'm expecting this to sound quite different. So we'll just go ahead and see how different this sounds. Mm-hmm. So this is the 2004 version of Peace Sells in 3, 2, 1.
Bass is brighter. The whole thing seems louder. Patrick is turning
huge reverb on the.
I am turning it quite a bit down. I feel like the kick has more reverb on it, but that might just be because it's louder now.
The kick is different.
Vocals are louder.
Yeah, the vocals are way louder.
The snare sucks.
It's way more subdued, for
the
sure.
The snare was so good in the other one. Like, I would even argue
you can't really hear a transient on the snare at all.
No, it's just
right.
It's just a
whoop.
But that kick is so not.
Dude, listen to the guitars though. Sound great.
I think the mismatching of the left one being louder is way worse in this than it was.
I haven't noticed that in either one yet. You think the right one is louder?
No, left.
I don't hear that. The guitar, yeah.
I think I agree, yeah. It is a little
the left is louder? Mm-hmm. It's at least more present.
It might be. They might have the right a little more subdued, like some of the
I think it's got more low end overall, too.
I think the guitars overall do, yeah. The bass sounds great, though. Like, it's really nice in the mix.
I noticed it more, like, in these parts in the other version.
I definitely like this more than the other version. I agree with you. I think the snare was better before, but I'll take the more compression. I'll take the vocals louder.
That it sounds like all strainer on the snare because it's so much more compressed.
Yeah,
and this transient, like that's what.
You're right.
There was some guy on YouTube. We were looking at some YouTube comments about the 86 version, and some guy said there's way more headroom in the 86 version, and he's correct.
Yeah, he is correct.
You can't hardly have snare drums like that with modern mastering.
Yeah, the snare drum does sound like a puny little wimpy thing here. But I will sacrifice that to get the vocals louder, because to me that was the most. That's the best. That's the most improved thing I'm hearing in this mix. Also, these solos aren't as panned far left and right.
No, they're in the middle.
They were more in the middle. Yeah, I like that a lot more.
This is super stereo. It wasn't in the other thing. This is like really wide, right? And before, I don't remember it being out so far.
What are they going to do with the double bass?
It's just quantized. Yeah, I don't think these are the same vocal takes either, are they?
I think it's way better mixed, like the vocals, like they're more compact. in a better way.
This is way lamer.
Oh yeah, the kick sounds terrible.
When on the other version, in this one, it's like whatever. He's hitting the kick drum faster.
Oh yeah, that's a bummer. Oh dang it. Yeah, that sounds
the gang
terrible.
vocals overall sound less huge. Like there's fewer dudes.
Yeah, I think that's probably just because the headroom thing we were talking about, the compression. Now I don't know, because this kick is really disappointing me.
It sounded okay in the beginning of the song.
Yeah.
This is so Metallica at the end of this.
All right, Chris.
Ooh, and then did that other one have all the
I don't think it had
phaser
that.
and delay stuff at the end?
Yeah, basically there.
Okay, Chris Parker, what do you think about that? You go first.
There's definitely things about it that sound better than the original, but yeah, I'd have to go back and listen to the first one again on the double bass part at the end, but there was something lame about it.
In this version, right? The more recent. Yeah, I agree.
Version. And yeah, I don't think the benefits outweigh what changed in the negative.
I think I'm kind of I came around towards, because that double bass part I really liked a lot in the original mix. And
The first thing we listened to, let's be honest, we don't really know what either one of them was.
Yeah, that's true. It was much.
The first version we listened to was better.
Yeah, I think so. Because I was still impressed with how the guitars sounded a lot. Mm-hmm. I was very impressed with how dry they sounded. Now they weren't necessarily dry, but they weren't overly reverbed very much, which is kind of one of the things I do think that they
drums?
are. No, the guitars. Oh. Yeah, the guitars. That's the thing that's impressed me the most so far hearing this is the way the guitars sound. Like they are meaty and chunky. And I don't think I necessarily thought that with the earlier Metallica albums. I think that's one of the reasons I do say I like Kill 'Em All more. I feel it's the chunkier sounding guitars. I feel like the guitars on Ride and Master of Puppets, they tried to accentuate the lead guitars over the rhythm guitars, whereas this I felt like they were being like, no, rhythm guitars come first, and then the lead guitars come second. And I think I prefer heavy music mixed that way, or at least approached that way.
But this was
But it's a different type of thing.
There was a commercial reason to do this remaster, and I mean, I can see how much you turned the level down on this compared to the other one.
A lot.
Kind of level match it. And so the other one was way louder, and so what was happening, and did we have streaming in 2011?
If we did, it was early. I don't think
we didn't.
I don't think so.
But it had something to do with that, or if it might have just been a radio thing that, it was getting destroyed.
Yeah.
It was just getting wrecked by modern stuff that was loud because it was, 6 dB average quieter than what this is. And so they did it and they ruined the transients of stuff and, whatever.
Yeah.
The other one is better.
But I think, like we said, though, before we even got into that, like a lot of what we were hearing would have required them to go back. It wasn't just a remaster. Like there were things full on changed there.
Yeah, I without listening to it more closely, like I don't think that the vocal takes were the same, or they were edited so much differently that you heard different stuff.
Yeah,
and also they were way louder in the mix.
Yes, and I did like that way more. I thought that the placing of the vocals in the mix was much better in this second thing we listened to. The more
I think this one was more correct, but I like the other one better.
Yeah, yeah. One thing I was going to mention earlier when we listened to Crush 'Em and I missed this was it's very obvious that there's a lot of autotune on that. So I'm curious if we're going to get autotune later on with this band. But you could very clearly hear autotune in some of the...
I could clearly hear something that might be perceived as autotune. I thought about it.
But also his voice does seem very like warbly all the time. And so when he's overdubbing himself, maybe some of the warbles don't line up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And create like a weird artifacting type thing.
Yeah.
All right, shall we move on?
Yes.
Okay, so we're just going to listen to... Now, I have no clue what this is. So let's... Oh, Chris, you said when you listened to this See, this is the problem with, yeah, okay. So we're going to listen to the original version of Holy Wars, The Punishment Due. This is the song that won the poll from their album Rust in Peace from 1990. So this is 1 year before the Black Album came out. So I'm curious about this.
And it is their most, I believe their most well received critically and otherwise album is Rust in Peace. Is like their peak.
Interesting, because Metallica's most well received or most popular album came out the year after this.
Yeah,
and
most critically acclaimed album, Rust in Peace,
and came out off the heels of a big change in sound for them too, Metallica. So,
Black Album was the change in sound.
that's what I'm saying. Oh, sorry, it was that album was the change in sound.
I think it depends on what critics you're talking about, but I'm sure that's the one that sold the most, or that's the one that propelled them to decades-long international stardom, whatever that means.
Yeah, for sure.
And
yeah, it's tough to.
From the band's perspective, the Rust in Peace lineup was the one that Mustaine kept trying to reignite the lineup of band members from Rust in Peace because it was the most critically acclaimed one, and they wanted to try to recreate it.
Who played guitar?
That would have been.
Pulling up the wiki.
I should open these two different tabs here.
Marty Friedman.
Yeah.
Why does that name sound familiar to me?
Because he's like a super guitar shredder.
Huh.
He's on tons of stuff.
Yeah, I've probably seen his name in other things.
Oh, and Chris Poland played on the demo tracks. There you
go. I don't know if this is something you guys can answer without, I guess, spoiling Megadeth for me or whatever, but like, that song, is that a good representation of like early Megadeth that we just listened to? Peace Cells?
Peace Cells? I'm not sure. I don't know them well enough.
From what I understand, yes.
Yeah. I mean, that wasn't like their Escape, right? You don't listen to Escape off of Ride the Lightning and then think this is what a good representation of Metallica was.
What song is Escape?
The one that I liked that everyone got mad at me for.
That's the crappy radio one from Ride the Lightning.
Ride the Lightning.
Okay. Yeah. No, I don't think that's...
So that is a pretty accurate representation of
as far as
Megadeth.
I understand.
Okay.
That's a very popular song. It gets talked about an awful lot.
Okay.
I really hope that's the right riff.
And that's from School of Rock.
Very good.
Math is a wonderful thing. Okay, so let's go ahead and listen to Holy Wars, ... The Punishment Due. This is track 1, by the way, off of the album. We're going to listen to the original version first and see what we think. Okay? Mm-hmm. So this is from an album 4 years later, 1990. In 3, 2, 1. Hey, that's really cool. Ooh, I like that.
That riff is pretty cool.
Ooh, that little pause in there for just like a nanosecond. Was that done on purpose, or were they moving their hands? No, it was done on purpose. That sounds kind of weird. Like sloppy, right? Ugh. I didn't like the way that sounded at all.
See, you want to talk about raw drums? These sound like... This just sounds like some mics.
Put on a drum kit?
Yeah.
I like the hi-hats and stuff, like the cymbals.
The kick is so dead.
Yeah, it's very pingy.
Oh, Dave.
I'm getting flashbacks to that terrible Led Zeppelin album I listened to. Sounds like he's in pain.
When the little guys, whatever those are called, the little wind chimey boys.
Wind chimes, yeah, that's very cool. And it was recorded in stereo. Or span.
Wow. That's obligatory.
That was weird. This sounds like something from earlier than 1990. What was Dave Mustaine's influences? Like what did he grow up listening to?
Dave Mustaine.
Yeah.
So, since we're basically a Metallica channel,
The guitars sound great.
I feel like they lack a punch to them,
That's fair.
but I think the whole mix is kind of thin sounding.
Oh, totally. But maybe I just think that they're really dry.
Which I do like. And I really like what they're doing. I like what they're doing too. So this has a lot more lead guitar stuff in the rhythms.
that's cool. I like how you can really hear the pick on the strings in there.
Yeah.
And how the guitars, they're not edited to be perfect. Like,
Yeah, that is
right?
true.
You can hear the notes.
Yeah,
Kinda.
yeah.
They're close, but I'm sure
Yeah.
it wasn't the same guy that played them.
It just feels very loose. The whole thing. Like it doesn't feel shiny and produced, which is, I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing.
I don't think I like the drums, like what they're playing.
Oh, I do.
Okay.
Oh, it's going to be
That's
so
cool.
hard for me to get over his voice.
Yeah, it is.
Like, yeah, that's a part of it. I just hate bands like Guns N' Roses and Led Zeppelin and stuff, and this is just, it's just like that.
I do have some info that might help.
Okay. It's physically impossible for Dave Mustaine to sing under a certain note. This is a cool riff. That riff that started the song.
The changes are cool.
It is, and it's
like
very
why-
Metallica-y.
Yeah, that's why Metallica's cool.
Yeah.
Or why certain eras of Metallica were cool.
Interesting. Wow. See, I don't even know what the chorus of that song was.
I don't think there was supposed to be one. I think you were just supposed to like the guitar solos.
Yeah.
Which is why I stopped my comment, because I realized it was during a guitar solo.
Yeah.
But my thing was,
yeah.
is that, well, it's kind of two-sided, but it's about the same thing. In something that I read, maybe it's been quoted a bunch, I can't remember, but James was talking about recording heavy guitars. And he said the trick to recording heavy guitars is to not distort any of them too much, but it's just to record more of them. I've probably quoted that somewhere in the hundreds of hours of Metallica videos that we've done before. And I would say that that sound right there is why you do what James said. Because like, also on the same thing, like I think that sound is really easily recreatable by amp modelers, especially amp modelers from like the, you know, whatever, mid 2000s, like when like the Line 6 Pod stuff came out. And I say this as a proud Line 6 Pod X3 user, that sound is really easy to do. And sometimes you think it sounds really cool. But it actually doesn't. Like, it's fun. It's fun in your. I wonder what amps that they were using, because that was extremely distorted. Like, it's so high endy, like,
Very fuzzy, kind of. Yeah.
I mean, I don't hate it.
Yeah.
Also, there's the Peace Sells song in both versions, like the bass was like a big deal and it sounded really cool. And in this, there was like, I'm sure there was bass in there, but I didn't think about it.
Yeah,
the whole
it did
I was
not
wondering,
stick
I was
out.
going to say, like, why does this sound worse than the previous stuff? And I think the bass is, and I don't know necessarily that I would say it totally sounds worse overall, but like the bass missing really was very obvious.
Yeah, and you could tell the bass. There was a moment, I think, at the beginning when I mentioned the bass, and I was like, oh, yeah, listen to the bass go. But to me, the coolest part of that song was that intro riff that was more like fast picking rhythm based or whatever. I'm not sure if that's the correct terminology, but the fast rhythm rather than focusing on like playing something complex, rhythmic, like melodically. It was just about the rhythm, right? Repeating that one note or whatever a whole bunch of times. And when I was listening to that, I thought, wow, this is much closer to a lot of the metal that I like, just right this section right here, than Metallica's ever done in any of the stuff I've heard from Metallica. Like in terms of like, and specifically, I guess the band I was thinking of the most was like Scar Symmetry. Which I like all sorts of metal, but like when I was thinking of like Scar Symmetry or Cybreed and things like that, and I was like, or even Fear Factory, maybe a more widely known example of that. A lot of the metal bands that I listen to are not so much about the deedly-deedlies, and they're more just about the chuggity-chuggities, but they're not necessarily the like breakdown chuggy-chuggities, right? It's more just like rhythmic pattern-based stuff, like well,
that's
type stuff. And
isn't
this
that
was
like Hetfield's Bag though.
No. No, they do that stuff, but then they wheedly deedly in between it. And that was the thing that stuck out to me about that first part of the song, where I was like, oh, they're doing this a lot without any of the wheedly deedlies, you know? And yes, Metallica does do that kind of stuff every now and then, but I feel like it's almost more used as a transition into the next like chunky, meaty riff part. So yeah, I don't know. I did not care for that song as much as the first one.
I agree. I've been trying to think of why.
I think the vocals were annoying throughout the song. Oh yeah, you said you had something about the vocals that might help.
Yeah, so when they were early on, like 83, when they were trying to put this band together, apparently they spent, Mustaine and Ellefson, like the bass player, spent an outrageous amount of time trying to find people to fill out the band. It says they auditioned like 15 drummers, and it took them it says, following 6 months of trying to find a lead singer, Mustaine decided to perform lead vocals himself, which is like, to me,
so
is
just
like,
kind of gave up. Yeah.
Kind of gave up and was like, fine, I'll do it.
Yeah.
That's the Metallica story though, too. Like, it's the same thing.
James wasn't going to do vocals initially.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, he said at the I think it was at that Grammys where they played with Gaga that he said, we're still looking for a singer.
That's really funny. I didn't know that.
That's cool.
I like that.
But
yeah,
and it's so interesting, like hearing like that they auditioned so many drummers and they had so much trouble like getting vocalists and guitarists and stuff, and it's like it really throws you back into exactly how not ubiquitous this type of music was at the time, where it's like,
Yeah.
how in the world can you possibly struggle to find metal drummers and metal guitarists and vocalists?
Right.
Based on our current world that we live in. But you go back and it's like, we don't know. We can't find anybody who does this thing.
Yeah. I agree with you both, or I agree with you, Chris, and I was trying to figure out why I didn't like that mix as much, and I think overall it did sound thin to me, just overall, like every aspect of it. It was missing any of that like sort of mid-range punchiness. But I've heard stuff that's thin that I still enjoyed the mix of, so I don't know. I think it was more, I don't know.
I just didn't really like the song itself.
I think that song definitely felt more like metal to me and less like new metal-y, I guess, which is more what I felt the first track felt like.
Sure.
Like I certainly couldn't play this one on the guitar. And when I say that, I'm laughing because I'm a terrible guitar player, but like, you know, like if we listen to a Metallica song, for a vast majority of it, I'm like, well, like I couldn't play any of this on the guitar. Like this is beyond my pathetic skill level. Whereas I felt like Crush 'Em, that entire song I could play. Everything that was happening the entire time.
It's like The Reason by Hoobastank. Like I can play every instrument.
Ding
of that
ding
song.
ding 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 bing ding 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 ding. I really love that song. And if we ever did a greatest one-hit wonders of all time, that song's on there. It's not the greatest one-hit wonder. That's Aha's Take on Me. But
I just heard. I heard a version of, it was one of those big ska bands. It was either Real Big Fish or the other one.
Mesh.
Not Less Than Jake.
Well, those are two big ones.
It was Mighty Mighty Boss Tone.
Yeah.
It was one of those bands in like Ice Nine Kills doing a version of.
Oh.
Yeah, it was Real Big Fish. It's Walking on
movie.
Sunshine.
Sorry, it wasn't Take On Me. I heard a version of Take On Me though too, like right after that.
Oh,
but yeah, that Walking on Sunshine thing rips. Like
It's so good.
It's so good.
I'll have to look
I
that
love
up.
it. It's
very
perfect.
good.
I'll have to look that up. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Ice Nine Kills.
I'm not either, but for whatever, I mean, I don't know anything about them, but they're not.
They're the
weren't made
only
for me.
they're the only headlining show I ever left because I was like, I don't need to see any more of this. I saw them playing with Icy Stars, and I went there to see Icy Stars,
That would
and
be such a killer show.
and they were Icy Stars was good, and whatever band played before them, I forget, they were great too. But then when Ice Nine Kills came out, I was like, I feel like this is just, you're trying to be a heavier version of Hollywood Undead, and I don't need to stay here for that. We're in the right
They're a
part of
good
the country
version
for
of
that.
Hasn't everybody forgotten about that band? And then Patrick, of course, Patrick.
Everybody
Hollywood
but
Undead?
Patrick.
Crummy bands from 2004.
hey,
Ice Nine Kills is a good version of Hollywood Undead.
I don't think that I like love Hollywood Undead or anything. I remember whenever I bring them up.
What was the song?
I know. Exactly what song.
Undead? Do.
No.
Yes, that was their big song.
Was that their first big song? That song was so bad.
It was Undead.
It was huge. I feel like it was huge at the same time that Cottonmouth King song was big, and it was like, this is
Again, just trying to be so.
You know, you're actually wrong.
Edgy for the sake
Because-
of
Am I?
being edgy.
Yeah, because Bump 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 came out in 1998 on Cottonmouth King's first album.
That might
Yeah,
be the song I'm thinking of. Maybe. I
yeah.
don't
But
remember.
that was their
All
big
trash.
song.
All of
Yes.
it's trash.
Yeah.
Shall we
Definitely
listen to the
Midwestern.
remaster of this?
We're getting
At least
dangerously
part of
close
it.
to ICP territory there. With that
We are
kind of-
getting close, and I will turn
Still
this.
Let's
stop.
at least see what part of this sounds like.
Okay, so we're gonna just listen to a part of the 2004 version of the song we just heard.
So he like re-recorded a bunch of stuff for a bunch of different albums, and they all came out in 2004.
That's what I read.
That seems crazy.
Yeah.
Don't you have better stuff to do?
Apparently not.
No.
I don't know. Like learn how to sing correctly. All right, in
Can't be
3, 2, 1.
Louder. Brings the harshness of those guitars way out. Drums
Ooh,
sound way
there's that
better.
bass.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Sounds way better.
It does. The drums actually sound like drums.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the bass is nice and farty. There's that pause I was talking about.
Oh yeah. Bam, bam. I think it's intentional.
Yeah, I think so too. They won't do it anymore now, but it was just the first 3 times.
This all sounds really nice.
That sounds way better too. That lead part was really clunky. That first version. The vocals are going to be nice and loud here too.
Yeah, you'll love that.
I'm going to go out and buy just these 2004 versions of the whole catalog. Screw the originals.
That bass.
Yeah, you can actually hear it.
Sounds like someone's hitting something with a pencil. I thought that was you, Chris, for a second. Yuck, that's bad. Oh god, now I can hear him more. I didn't think about that.
That's why I thought laugh when you said like, hooray, the vocals will be louder. And it's like, yeah, exactly what you want.
Yeah. Look at those background vocals weren't in the original, was it?
You couldn't hear him like that.
You couldn't hear him like that, yeah.
I think the panning was a little more exaggerated on that.
Yes.
This almost reminds me of Kyle Long.
He's doing weird stuff with his vocals, that's for sure.
But this song is like almost 7 minutes long. We're really gonna listen to the whole thing?
No, we don't have to.
It's just been enjoyable so far.
It is.
The bass is really doing a lot of work here that it wasn't doing before.
Yeah. And the kick. It's got so much nice soft low.
Yeah, it's interesting how in Peace Cells, the 2004 version destroyed the drums, and then in this one, like, they're so much better.
Yeah. Yeah, let's stop it, Chris.
Okay.
Only because we got other stuff to listen to. So.
Yeah.
Okay, well that was I think we pretty much said everything we thought about that there. I don't know if we need to go into it too much more. I
do like the more headroom of the other version, but in general the sounds are just better.
Yeah.
The drums
You
make
can
such a
you can have all the headroom in the world, but if what you're listening to isn't working the way it's supposed to, it doesn't matter, you know?
Yeah.
Just because something's dynamic doesn't mean that it's good. Just something being compressed doesn't mean that it's bad. You know? So. All right, the next song we have to listen to here is one that Chris Parker has been talking about for years to me
I
now.
listened to this like 2 days ago just to give it like another, refresher. And I'm like, man, this song is so stupid, but I enjoyed it.
All right, so
I did like it. I still do.
You're familiar with this one, Chris?
Yes.
Okay.
There are things about it I refuse to like, but ultimately it is a song I did not feel wasted my time.
So this one is one. This is one that I ripped from this exact CD. So this is from the 1992's original. This is the original CD release, whatever.
Oh, wow.
So this is the actual 1992 version of this. 100,050 million%. You ready, Chris?
Which album is this on?
Countdown to
Extinction. This is the one with Symphony for Destruction. How does Symphony for Destruction go? Because that's the one that I know for sure, because I think that was in one of the Tony Hawk games, for sure. Or some video game. Maybe it was a WWE game. Hi. Hey, Google, play Symphony of Destruction.
Got it. Symphony of Destruction by Megadeth.
Hold on, let's just...
On Spotify
Hold on. It's starting. There's an orchestra tuning. Now it sounds like something dissonant.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. It takes a mortal man.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, Google, stop. Okay, so yeah, that's okay. So I know that. Okay, so this is from the same album as that. This is Sweating Bullets in 3, 2, 1. That kick has a lot of beater in it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like their sound is like getting exponentially better,
I don't either.
you know, from album to album.
Hello, me. Meet the real me. In my misfits way of life. A dark black past.
It's like he's making fun of it. Like,
Most valued possession. Hindsight is always 20/20. But looking back, it's still a bit fuzzy. Speak of mutually assured destruction. Nice story. Taxpayers digest.
I can't even understand what he's saying there. I mean, this is like circusy almost, you know?
Yeah.
I would say this is the level of metal that Nightwish hits. Like, actually, they play a lot of faster, like, more leady stuff than this. But, I mean, I've only heard a bit of this song, so it could totally change, but...
Hello, me. It's me again. You can subdue but never tame me. It gives me a migraine.
I mean, this is clearly based on, like, blues music, right? Where it's like, ba-da-da, you know, and you say your little part, and then da-da-da-da-da, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it's just
Kicking death. Mankind has got to know his limitations.
I like how you can hear his, like you can hear the microphone in that almost, like...
I will say that I guess that I've sort of appreciated that about all of this that we've listened to is that like it all sounds human.
Yeah. Not overly processed. You know what this is reminding me of? This is reminding me a lot of Dope. Edsel Dope from the band Dope. His vocals are like this, now that I think about it. That's interesting.
We're getting very Metallica now.
Because his Dope's... Sorry.
Semi-evil.
Yeah, this is very Metallica. Ooh. That's like of the 3 songs we've heard, 2 songs have solos where they go. You know, if I was trying to program a cool sounding, that's what I would do. Da 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 da. Go up a little bit. Da 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 da. Go up a little bit. Da 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 da. You know. It's like, man, can you do some melody in your solo a little bit, please? Like, play the melody of the song. Is there any melody in this song? Guy have the hiccups while he was recording that, or what? That was weird. I like whatever's happening in the middle is kind of a cool thing. And I don't mind that it's like so far down, it's like, you know, intentionally. It's like that Pink Floyd thing we listened to, Chris, right? Where they recorded all those people talking and then they just inserted it at the last couple songs.
Yeah.
And it's not meant to be something you can really pay. Oh, I hate phasing on cymbals. I hate that.
Well, me, it's nice talking to myself. A credit to
This sounds like The Simpsons making fun of a metal song or something. Like, this sounds like a parody of metal, right? Like, it's not...
War inside my head. Won't take a day off, I'll be dead. My icy fingers claw your back. Here I come again.
I do like how all the drum fills go so neatly from left to right.
Yeah.
And it's just like a rainbow of toms. I've been enjoying that.
This is kind of cool. I mean, it is Faith No More, you know? Or Mr. Bungle.
I think it sounds pretty good, though.
It's not bad. I do think the vocals are not as present here, but that's because we've been listening to the other mixes as well. We don't have the other mix for this one.
The drums are a little bit cheesy, but I like that.
I like these very simple guitar parts over the top. Like, that could be a keyboard part very easily. Just, just doing it. That's cool, I think. Oh, that's the end of the song. Okay, wow.
That's it.
That went pretty fast.
For 5 minutes, that went by pretty fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was hoping
It's
at the
weird
end
because it's such a miserable sort of, what are you doing? Oh, okay, this is cool. Stop. Don't do it again. Yeah, this rips. And then you're just like, then you get to the end.
Well, I was hoping at the end he'd go, goodbye, me. Goodbye, me. It's like, oh my God. So I'm trying to think of how to explain this. And unfortunately, I don't know if anyone's going to get this reference other than the WWE, like wrestling people and the UFC people. But there's this guy that WWE hired to be an announcer for a while. And he's like the voice of the UFC or one of the MMA fighting things. It might not be the UFC, but his name is Mauro Ronaldo. And I hated every single second that he was on commentary because it sounded like he was mocking what commentary is supposed to sound like. You know? He was like, it's like someone trying too hard and not understanding that they're doing a bad job. I don't know how else to put it. Like, it just sounds like if it's supposed to be serious, this is not the guy to sing a serious song. If this is all supposed to just be like fun, then okay. That's why I say Faith No More, right? Because Faith No More, the guy from Faith No More, what's his name? The singer. Mike Patton.
Yeah.
Like he has done, like, he's performed with operas and stuff. Like, he's performed with orchestras. He is like,
So has Dave Mustaine.
no.
Yes.
No.
Yes. He wore a tuxedo and everything.
Oh my God, no.
Yeah.
I hope the sleeves
Was
are ripped
there a
off
rock
of it.
band with it at the time?
No, I think it was just him.
Oh my God, no. There's no way that's real.
I have
Please,
to hear
God,
that.
no.
I have to hear that.
I don't think he sang. I think he just played guitar. But
Oh,
So I like the guitar parts, but I would love to hear some very moving orchestral thing and then just have over the top of it. Like, oh my God, what are you doing, Dave?
He has a very serious. There's a very serious ballad that they have called "A Tout Le Monde." Where
It's hard for me to get around it because I just, but I have to. I guess I have to say too. If you're watching this video and you're like, "These guys are so stupid. This guy, I can't believe the stupid fat bald one in the middle doesn't know anything about anything," which is true.
I didn't realize Marlon Brando was a fan of ours, but that's impressive.
The guy in the middle, he doesn't know anything. He doesn't know anything about anything. He keeps saying he knows things. He doesn't know nothing about nothing.
And I've never even seen The Godfather. I don't even know who Marlon Brando is. Just memes, which is what this band sounds like, memes of metal. But I have to say, like, there's a certain type of metal vocal that I despise, and it's something that's close to this. And I think it was something that was started by this little band that I absolutely despise called Led Zeppelin.
Nobody liked.
Yeah, called Led Zeppelin.
That little band that nobody liked.
Yeah. They decided that they could record their own music, and they made an album called Four that is just one of the most worst sounding things I've ever heard in my whole life.
Worse.
And it's almost as bad as the grammar in that sentence. But that album sounds so bad. Like, so bad. That album rivals Saint Anger for inconsistency from song to song, and every song sounds bad. Because they decided that they thought they could do it themselves. Obviously, I've heard that one song that they do that's like,
Stairway to Heaven?
No, that's not Stairway to Heaven.
The Immigrant Song.
Yeah, the Immigrant Song. Right,
Oh,
that sounds good. That sounds way better than anything off of Four. But, like, that sort of, like, high-pitched thing that then every hair metal band decided to do, like everyone, like Motley Crue, all those bands I mentioned before, every one of those bands that I can't stand, including Guns N' Roses, because they sing the exact same way as this. However, I do say Dave Mustaine has more of like a warbly, like aggressiveness to what he's trying to do.
He has an incredibly unique voice.
He does. He does. Yes, I will say that. I do think that when I started thinking of Dope in there, I was like, okay, maybe if I try to think of this from that angle rather than Guns N' Roses, I might be able to like it a little bit more. I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm very curious to see what their more recent music sounds like, because I didn't mind his voice that much on Crush 'Em. I thought that was actually like way more tolerable than these two songs. That song was like a joke, which I think is why you've been mentioning it for years.
Yeah.
You had it set up as like, hello, me, it's me, like whatever, like, but like, it's not good.
No, it's fascinating. It's interesting because he doesn't have, like, tonality wise, he's hitting the notes he needs.
Yeah, but
timbre wise, it's a hellish noise. It's a terrible thing that he does.
If you don't know how to properly sing metal and you just think you can and you try it, this is what that sounds like, right? Like if
One thing that's really interesting is how well his voice matches his face.
I did see a picture of him. Like he looks like someone that was in a hair metal band in the 80s, right? Like a lion kind of with like a mane of curly.
It's just a whole package of Dave.
Curly, dry hair around him. Does he still look like that now?
Well, he looks worse because he's like 70 or whatever. But
like Metallica, they got smart and cut their hair and stuff.
Oh no, he's still the same, as far as I understand. I haven't seen him lately. But.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't know. I don't know what people expected. Like, I hope that some of our I say fans, like we don't have a big channel, right? We have a small channel. I hope that the people who were looking forward to this anticipated me not liking Dave singing. But they had to have, right? Because it's like no one can listen to that.
Do you think anybody watches this because they like it, or do you think that people just watch this stuff because they want to get mad?
I think
they're like,
I think there's definitely
too
some
good
of
of a
both.
day today, so I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna watch the Chris's.
I'm gonna go hate watch.
Real pissed off.
I think it's both, but we also do get a lot of comments of people being like, "Oh, I never noticed this one thing till you guys pointed it out and stuff," and those are the comments I like the most, But I don't know. I just.
Well,
it's
speaking
really
of their newer stuff.
It's weird.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Okay. So So the next thing.
It's a shame that there's nothing from The System Has Failed on here, just because that's my favorite album of theirs. But
What year was that one from?
2006, I think maybe.
Okay. So that would. Okay. So if we do another Megadeth album or not Megadeth video, and we decide not to do a full album, we could we'll include that one, and I'll let you even pick the song. But we have two songs from the 2000s. From 2009, we have Head Crusher.
Mm-hmm. And I haven't listened to anything since The System Has Failed, so this is both of these can be really interesting.
Okay, so and are you familiar with their more recent work at all, or
a little bit?
A little bit. Okay, so you at least know what to kind of expect.
Parts of Super Collider.
Okay.
Because of the memes.
Okay. Which this is Head Crusher is off of which album? Endgame. Head Crusher is from Endgame, and then Dystopia is from an album of the same title, Dystopia. So let's go ahead and listen to Head Crusher, and we'll just see what we think. Head Crusher, by the way, pretty sweet name of a song. Crush 'em, we just heard a little bit ago. So like they're kind of getting into that like Crush 'em lyric. I know all the lyrics to Crush 'em, and they're bad. They're very bad. Like they are literally like, I'm going to write a song about basically singing a song in like an anthemic song, and like this is a song that like a hockey team could skate out onto the ring. Like
I think they did.
Entrance song for
yeah. So I think they actually NHL did that for that song.
Unless
I mean, I was talking about the wrestling thing.
Well, but maybe there. I don't know if this is possible, but like maybe WCW had Megadeth write that song for them.
I was going to ask you if you knew that. Earlier.
I didn't. I'm not aware of that. It's certainly not like WWE having Motorhead write the three songs they did for Triple H. So it's like
Crush 'Em was used for lots of entrances. NHL used it, and WWE used it.
I mean, it is literally made for that. I mean, it's literally. I mean, that's the lyrics are literally that. It couldn't be any more obvious. Like. Heads I win, tails you lose. Out of my way, I'm coming through. Roll the dice, don't think twice. We crush them.
Yep.
Enter the arena and feel the light, you know?
Play the song.
Okay, this is Head Crusher. Head Crusher in 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Starts mid-song.
The guitars are still very crispy. Okay, so they're continuing the like big gang vocals. The horrific torture device for those who fail interrogation. I like the way it sounds. I think it sounds pretty good.
The structure's weird.
This is reminding me a lot of a song called Edge Crusher by Fear Factory. But that song's like a billion times heavier than this, even though it's way slower.
Snare sounds incredible.
They still sound like real drums, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, they're not like fake sounding drums, which is what most metal is nowadays. Kick sounds good too, I think.
Yep. Bass sounds good. Guitars are fine.
There you can hear he needs to take some water or whatever before he did that, because there was a lot of phlegm in that. There's a lot of phlegm in everything, really. This is cool. This is Metallica-y.
Is the hi-hat in the center?
Yeah,
No.
maybe off to the right a little bit. But it's mostly in the center.
Snares in the center. I think hi-hat's like low left and right.
I think you might be right.
What did he say?
It feels like the hi-hat's wide.
Yeah, split.
I do kind of like overheads that sound like this, like where it's just like high-end stuff and you can't really tell, like you can't tell where anything's at, right?
Right,
like
right.
It's just high frequency.
That's the end? Wow. I could have had that. So they...
That was the most
aspiring
enjoyable thing we've listened to.
Yes,
so far.
that was the best song, I think, for sure. The least egregiously like...
Chorus not super cool, but like,
Yeah, I like the gang vocal part, but other than that, like their songs just don't, their choruses don't feel like choruses. You know, we've said
weird times.
Dave's an artist, man.
we've said that about Metallica too, but how they have like anti-verses or anti-choruses, and then it feels like they start verses in like the second line, half of the verse or whatever. But this just feels like, yeah, the chorus is like they're really not trying to be poppy at all with this. You know,
I'd say that
Crush
they were
'Em
trying
definitely
to
was.
not be.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're trying not to be, or they're not trying to be.
I was saying they're trying not to be.
Yeah, I think we're saying the same
No,
thing.
we're not saying
No,
the same thing.
they're actively over trying to make sure that they do not do anything poppy.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Probably because of this is 2009. How would you say your what is your album you like, Chris? Symphony of or
The System Has Failed.
yeah,
from 04.
is that closer to this or closer to that Crush 'Em song?
That's much closer to this, for sure.
Okay, so this is
From
probably
like sonically, as far as I mean, it's been a while since I've listened to it, but sonically, in terms of like the way it sounds, they changed very little from that to this.
Okay.
This sounds like modern metal.
It does. It did.
I mean, it should because it came out in 2000.
But with a guy who's just
I found his vocals to be less offensive in this.
I did too, but it still sounds like someone mocking metal music to me. Like, you know how people, you know how something will become popular and you know it's only popular because everyone's just making fun of it? Everything we've heard so far sounds like one of those songs, except for some reason they have a bunch of albums and apparently people really like them.
Is that why people like Drake?
I like Drake because he was in Degrassi.
You don't count.
I was making a joke. Chris laughed. I made Chris laugh. That's all.
I was shocked when his character became paralyzed from the waist down. He was the star of the basketball team. Okay?
Nobody
So
cares about this.
They do care. They care. More people care about Drake than Megadeth.
Leave a comment if you are actively interested in hearing us talk about Degrassi.
Not the new generation, the original.
Dude, but
Degrassi.
those videos that had Drake and Eminem and Joe Biden in them.
Do you mean the new Limp Bizkit music video?
And Ben Shapiro. No, there were these Instagram or TikTok videos, whatever they were. They were short little videos like where they used AI voices and like Eminem was trapped in Minecraft. Dude, it was great. It was awesome.
I wish I knew it.
That does sound.
There are
interesting.
some people that know what I'm talking about.
I'm certain.
I can't remember what they're called, but they're awesome.
But so I have to say this was a lot more what I was expecting with Megadeth. Like I was expecting fast-paced, more balls to the wall style metal, is what I was expecting. I was not expecting chug new metal guitar riffs, which is what we've basically gotten everything.
That wasn't the chorus was exactly a chug new metal guitar riff.
Yeah, but before that we got
Yeah,
which
the
was
beginning
nice.
of that song was sweet.
Right, but that we didn't hear that very much in any of the other stuff. But maybe people were choosing songs, like
We just listened to the songs that we listened to.
yeah, that were chosen by the polls. So it's like
We're here for the polls.
we do what the polls say, and our polls are 100% accurate.
We're here to please the people.
Yeah, the few people that voted. I don't know, Chris, how did you
Onward.
feel about that?
I mean, it sounded great. I am a little more interested in their newer stuff now than I was.
Okay,
And
I thought the vocals
no
could have been up a little more.
Yeah, they were a little low.
Okay, they were kind of buried in the music, which is
An
surprising.
interesting element.
Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say an interesting element of things, just keeping an eye on the timeline for this, that Mustaine was diagnosed with throat cancer in 2019, which, I mean, if anybody has ever sounded like, my man, you're getting throat cancer in 30 years, it's Dave Mustaine.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So none of this is technically relevant to that, but it was just something I was kind of listening to see, because you
Have
get
they
older, you
released-
sound more tired. I was just curious how he sounds the closer we get to now.
Have they released an album since he was diagnosed with that?
Yes.
Okay, I wonder if that would sound way different. Like if he had to sing.
He
differently.
has they're still working on music. He anticipates like 3 more. Mustaine revealed his intentions to release at least 3 more studio albums as Megadeth, with the first to be released in 2025.
Let's go. If we're still a channel, we're reacting to it.
Yeah,
Day 1, midnight.
I'm there. I'm there for that.
But until then, let's listen to the last song in this video. This is Dystopia, 2016. You ready, Chris? Yeah. You ready, Chris Parker?
I am.
In 3, 2, 1. Interesting. Oh, very nice.
I like this.
Yeah. Totally replaced drums, right?
Snare hits really sound similar to one another.
They brought in Chris Adler for this album.
Oh, that's right. Chris Adler plays on this record.
I really like what I'm hearing here. This is nice.
What you don't know, the legend goes
Wow.
If you only want to live and die in fear,
Way lower register vocal.
they tell us to believe just half of what we see.
Is this
he's not
detuned
sampling
or something? Maybe.
Absolutely nothing that we hear. Resist the
I mean, they're playing higher, but like.
matter what the cost. Supplant the rights from wrongs inside our heads. Outlawing all the questions to the answers. That no one lies when someone is a dead. Dystopia. Dystopia.
Interesting.
Dystopia.
He's not ending on the root.
Dystopia. What you don't know
That was an interesting chorus.
hurt you. If you only want to
I like the way the guitars sound too.
age.
Yeah.
There's panic and there's chaos rampant in the streets, where useless thoughts of peace are met with rage. Demoralized and overmastered people think the quickest way to end a war is lose. Dictatorship and starting with tyrannicide. You must destroy the cancer at its roots.
That is true about cancer. You do have to destroy it at the root.
Yeah. You heard it here first.
Yeah. I like this. This is my favorite song we've heard. Probably because it's over-processed and, you know... Oh, cool.
Twisted Metal 5.
Yes! Yes, Chris, yes! Oh my god, yes! Haha, yes! Ooh, that was weird.
Nice
That
drum
should have been
sound.
brought down in volume. He really likes those, whatever that is, stepping things.
Arpeggio, maybe?
No,
No, I don't know what I'm talking about.
sweeping. It's sweeping, but like,
Yeah.
ooh, that was a cool tom film. Oh, yeah. There's like a little explosion in there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, this is like a different band. What probably is, they're all different people, probably.
Yes, absolutely, 100%.
This is like Power Man 5000. And when I compare that, what I mean is Power Man 5000 came first, so they're obviously better. Chris, who's the drummer on this? Is Dirk Verburen the drummer on this album?
No, it's Chris Adler.
This is Chris Adler from Lamb of God.
Oh, Dirk Verburen is the new drummer, I think, for Megadeth.
Yeah, he is after this album.
Aw, dang it. Well, we should have listened to one of that. Dirk Verburen's one of my favorite drummers. So who's Chris Adler? What is he from something I would
Lamb
know?
of God.
Lamb
Well,
of God.
I don't know any Lamb of God. That's a band we should add to the list. Lamb of God.
Here's a
Didn't that guy
interesting-
kill someone? In
I don't think
Europe?
so. No,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
He went to that's not what happened, but yeah.
Well, it was an accident or something,
he went
right?
to jail for that.
Something that happened on stage, right? Whatever, it doesn't matter. We're not talking about that. We can talk about that another time because I would be interested in doing Lamb of God. Absolutely.
You'll enjoy this.
Yeah, yeah.
So, over the years, Megadeth was nominated for 12 Grammys that they never won.
Okay.
And this
I can
song-
understand why.
Won the Best Metal Performance at the 2017 Grammy Awards.
Okay.
Was their first Grammy yet that they ever got. And when they accepted the award, the house band played Master of Puppets. and apparently upset some people.
Oh my
I
gosh.
I bet it upset one redheaded guy.
One very
That's
specific person.
very
Yeah, a lot.
funny. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Holy cow, that's funny.
That's really funny.
I love it.
I love that song. That song sounded totally different to me. Like I said, I probably enjoyed it because it was over processed and everything was replaced, and it just. But that to me sounded like Soilwork. Sounded like In Flames bits of it. It sounded way closer to bands that I already enjoy, rather than having to like put myself in a space to enjoy something that I don't know if I could. Does that make sense? Like it was way easier for me to like that, and then also the fact that he just did lower register vocals. They have not gone back to a chorus a third time in any of their songs that I've heard. So they really don't like that song structuring thing. So maybe they're a little bit more progressive-y, I guess, than we're giving them credit for. And maybe, the way people are so fickle and stuff, like each of the songs that people chose are probably the most popular songs from those albums. So like, we're probably getting the like singles off the albums or whatever, right? And if this is the one that was nominated for a Grammy, it clearly had like a music video and all this stuff for it. So like, this is clearly like the single off this album. So like, but I would listen to that album.
Yeah.
If we listen
One thing that I've
go ahead.
always been very confused about. So there's the big four, Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, and Anthrax. I've never heard anything by Anthrax.
I
but
have.
I am
Bring the noise.
constantly bewildered that they would be part of that big four. It just doesn't stop that. It doesn't make sense from what I know about them, which is honestly very
I certainly
little,
have heard
but-
a lot less people talk about that band than any of the other three bands you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know much Anthrax?
Yeah,
Chris?
they seem like a weird odd man out for what is effectively like the big four greatest metal bands of all time or whatever it is.
Because they were all from that area of California. That was it.
Really?
And that's been discussed to death, that the big four is like, modern times, right? Back when.
Don't you think
that
Slayer
term
should be in that
started.
instead of them?
It is Slayer.
Oh wait, sorry. Who did you
Slayer's
say?
number 3.
Megadeth, Slayer,
Megadeth,
Metallica.
Slayer,
Slayer's
and-
number 1, but
Okay, right.
okay.
Okay.
But yeah, that at least now, right? And like you can go read for the rest of your life people on whatever things you want to read about what they think that list should be. But like,
I guess I
think it
just
largely
was never.
geographic.
So was Anthrax?
Okay.
Were they at the same time then, like early '80s to the?
Yeah, they were all the same time.
Okay, well we'll have to listen to Anthrax. Add them to the list then too, because
For sure.
the only song of theirs I know is that "Bring the Noise" cover or whatever they did. Then that's a pretty fly song, in my opinion. Right?
Is it?
Is that how you're supposed to?
Is that what it is?
Let's use the word fly.
Yeah, I think so. It's pretty funky fresh as far as I know, right? Bring the noise.
Man, oh man.
Right?
Pretty fly song.
Yeah. And then what was that other band that did all there was another band that did all the Biohazard, who did all those like hip hop rap covers.
There was a lot of that actually. In fact,
Yeah, the 90s was full of that stuff, and I like a lot of that. I've talked about that before, the soundtracks, movie soundtracks.
yeah,
They would do a lot
one
of that.
from Fight Night, is that what it's called? Some of the podcasts that I was listening to, they did a whole episode on a movie sound they admitted that the movie was like super lame and not well received, but the soundtrack was
great.
And I think it was that one that was the whole idea, is that like it was created for the movie, and they went and got like, I think kind of metal bands or bands that were cool in the early to mid 90s and paired them up with rappers and like.
Yep, I've talked about that before on the channel.
And that's like patrickmusilek.com.
Yep. The Crow soundtracks did that. The Spawn soundtrack did that. Spawn did it with
Geo
electronic artists and like alternative rock bands like Butthole Surfers and Filter and Stabbing Westward, and then paired them with like Crystal Method, stuff like that. And so that stuff is great. But then there's also, there's like all those. I have all those soundtracks. Then they released specific soundtracks just for that, not even for movies, like the Loud Rocks album, which is phenomenal and one of my favorite like compilations ever. If people don't know what I'm talking about, well, whatever. We're here to talk about Megadeth. Sorry, whatever. Rap metal is great. But we should listen to Anthrax sometime. I would be very curious. I know Scott Ian is the name of the guy from that because he was on like a reality show I watched once or something.
He was on all of those like I love the 80s. I love the 90s.
He was
Yeah.
heavily employed by VH1.
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
late
Yes.
90s, early 2000s.
And he was bald guy
whenever
with that
was.
crazy beard, right? That had like
The black and red one.
red, black. Yeah. So that's cool. We know a little bit about them, just none of their music. So
That literally is the beginning and end of my knowledge of Anthrax.
I think for
that Scott
everyone
Ian exists,
our
and that's what
age,
his head is.
That is about it.
But isn't
Yeah.
that kind of interesting to think about, Chris, though, that there's like a band out there that's considered as important as Megadeth, Slayer, and Metallica, and we just don't know anything of their music at all?
That's why it's always. That's why
Isn't that
there's-
weird?
It's so weird.
It's weird.
To me, yeah.
I don't know. Okay, so everybody, final thoughts on Megadeth. Dave Mustaine's vocals, to me, consistently sound like he's just mocking metal music, and I don't know how else to put it. There were times like that last song I felt was way less that, but it just sounds like someone who doesn't know how to perform metal vocals insisting that they do so. Which you said,
Maybe that's who he is.
I mean, you said that they tried other vocalists and none of them were doing what he wanted, so he did it himself. And I can any song I've ever sang on, which at this point is like many songs I've done over and never released because I suck, but like any song I've ever sang on is only because I didn't have any other vocalist available to me to do it for free at that time. You know what I mean? So it's like, like I can appreciate that and understand that, but like, just hire a different vocalist. Anyone.
Well, you can't once you establish it because it's such an important part of
That's
what
true,
makes
too.
the band who the band is.
That's true too. And I will say one of the things that I think I can appreciate from that, and I said this to you, I think not this last song, but the last song, or maybe it was the previous one. Like, it didn't seem to me like their sound was evolving very much in terms of the way the instruments sounded. Like, it didn't seem like their albums were getting better, sounding better each album.
Yeah.
Part of me almost like appreciates that because it's like, I know there's a lot of people who just wish that Metallica sounded exactly like they sounded on Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets. And like these people who like Megadeth in the 80s, they pretty much sounded the exact same from what I just gathered in the 90s. And then they did start to change towards the 90s, maybe for a little bit. But then like we just heard two songs that are heavier than faster, more fast, I guess, than the earlier stuff. But like essentially not that, like this last song I do think sounded tonally very different. And that's probably why I liked it the most. Like it sounded like fake drums.
It was very different.
It sounded like a modern metal record. Whereas everything before that sounded like relatively real sounding drums that were pretty consistent. They weren't trying to shine it up real nice, right? So I could see a lot of people really enjoying that level of unpolished metal. Even and continuing for years and years and years and albums and albums and albums, right? So I could see
And none of it sounded
people
that
like
bad.
no, I'm not saying it did sound bad. I'm just saying like they didn't change their sound very much, and you oftentimes hear people get mad at bands when they do change. And here we have an example of a band that, to me at least, from the little bit that I just gathered, didn't change their sound very much for quite a long time.
Well, and
that's
thinking
interesting.
about too the constant comparison between Metallica and Megadeth, like the system has failed. Like I said, fits really well in line with Endgame, that Head Crusher song, which came out, within a year of Saint Anger, and it was one of those things where it's like, oh, one of these bands went crazy, and the other one was Megadeth, and there was a certain element of the system has failed that I was like, I really wish Metallica had held onto their sound the way that Megadeth did.
Yeah. And then Megadeth tried to Metallica tried to go backwards with their sound with Death Magnetic. And then I feel like found a kind of a happy medium on Hardwired. And then I'm very much looking forward to talking about 72 Seasons again in a future video when we do our album rankings or something like that. But, but I will say, just for people who are here and you enjoy Metallica, I have been trying to I've been trying to listen to Metallica more so I can talk a little bit more authoritatively on stuff, because I keep saying, like, if you told me Death Magnetic, I would be like, I can't tell you a single song off of Death Magnetic that stuck with me at all. And I honestly, like, I can't. I just can't. That album is so boring to me. And honestly, and I've tried listening to it multiple times, and Hardwired is similar, but I do like Hardwired more. Like, if I was just going to throw on a Metallica album that I thought sounded good and was, like, kind of vibey, like, I would throw that one on, right? If I didn't want to really pay attention to it that much, I think I'd put on Hardwired. But, like, I haven't listened to Saint Anger yet since we did the reaction, and like I said, it's because I don't have a CD copy of it, so I'll probably have to just buy a copy eventually. But like,
I'm sure you can find one for a dime somewhere.
well, I've been looking on eBay. The cheapest I've ever seen it is $6, which is not a lot. Obviously, I could buy it for $6, and that's $6 with free shipping. So like, I could do that, but I just keep thinking, I bet I can find it for like $4. which is pretty crazy considering how expensive CDs are nowadays. But like, I don't know. So back to Megadeth. My first video we've done of them. I hope people enjoyed this. This isn't in my head. I try to plan the videos out a little bit before we go, and this is not at all in any way the way I plan this video to go. At all. But I think that's good because we didn't talk about the history of the band for 30 minutes beforehand and give me a ton of context. We just kind of jumped in, which is good. I wanted to do that, and I didn't want to talk as much. But I also understand that in the context of this video, it's I'm the one being shown the music, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm the one that has to be is doing the reacting. So right. So it makes sense for me to do most of the talking and stuff. So, but I don't know. Do you guys have any closing thoughts on Megadeth? Do you like Megadeth better than Metallica?
No.
No, me either. Okay, well, that's one thing. What's your favorite Megadeth album?
The System Has Failed.
I don't have one.
Right, Chris has system. Okay, Chris doesn't have one. I would be excited to listen to their more recent stuff. Especially, I know that Dirk Verburen left. He was in Soilwork for many, many years, and he left. And then he was in... I forget which band, but he left that band that I enjoyed also to go do Megadeth. And I know Dirk Verburen is like, he does a lot of Drumeo videos on that Drumeo channel where people hear.
Yeah.
It's really awesome. Mm-hmm. It absolutely is a really cool channel. But he also is like, when Soilwork let him be himself is when their music got, I mean, he was just like, can I put a blast beat over this part? And they're like, you do whatever you want. And he's like, okay. And then they just have like 50 songs that are just blast beats the entire time. So he's like a monster when it comes to that kind of stuff.
He's still listed as their current drummer.
Or maybe he as Megadeth's drummer, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say not Soilwork, but Megadeth. I would like to hear an album that he played on to see if they allowed him to be himself or if he was just trying to channel Megadeth's history, you know? Which I would assume.
I think with as much turnover as Megadeth's had, there's not really any history to channel. Like, you're not trying to be Lars Ulrich, you know, you're just playing drums.
I guess. I don't know. That is an interesting question of like, if you are an already established musician with your own style and you join a band that's like a revered band, you would be very, I would think no matter how big of a musician you are, you would feel like I shouldn't bring my ideas to this. I should just do what's asked of me, you know?
I think that's a good way to not get picked.
Honestly. Maybe. I don't know. I would, maybe. Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I mean, and people who are professional musicians, they don't care. You know, they just do whatever. They can probably make stuff up on the fly, which we know Dirk can because he does it in those videos. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting thing to think about sometimes, like when people join other bands and everything and how that kind of works. So like, I don't know. It's interesting. I would say of everything we heard, though, that last song, Dystopia, I think it was called, is by far my favorite thing we heard. And I would absolutely look forward to listening to more of that. I'm not going to listen to any more Megadeth in case people enjoy this video and it gets some views. Then we'll do another... Either we'll do another poll or people will be like, you should do that. You should listen to Dystopia or you should listen to one of their early albums and just laugh your ass off the whole time at him trying to sing. So like, I'll wait. I'll hold off on Megadeth for now. However, I do want to do some other. I want to do this video if this works, and we can upload this, even though all these songs came from different albums. I'm hoping it works. We can upload it. You can hear everything we've been hearing this whole time. If this format works, I want to do this with some other bands that we've already talked about: Slayer, Iron Maiden. Another band whose vocals I think I'm going to just despise. You know, we could even try Judas Priest if we wanted to. I want to do Motorhead. I don't know any Motorhead, and I feel like I would enjoy them too.
I only know like one song, maybe two.
Yeah, I only know Ace of Spades and their stuff they did with WWE, which those songs are great. Uh-huh. So like, I would be really interested in Motorhead. We talked about Lamb of God just now. People want us to do some Slipknot stuff, and I would do a whole Slipknot album, but I don't know. That might be a little much. So it might be, and I know
I
some.
thought you were a fan of theirs.
No. I only know a couple of their singles, like Duality, People Equal Poopy. I know that's exactly what it's called. People Equal Poopy. And that's really, I just know a couple. I mean, that one song, Vermilion or whatever, where they sing in it the whole time. Like, come on. This should be a Stone Sour song. But I'm not a big fan of Corey Taylor, really. So, so I would do that. You know, we've talked about other bands. Ghost is another band. So if any of these bands I'm mentioning to you, you're like, yes, you guys should do that, let us know in the comments. Go to the Discord, which the link will be in the description of this video. Go and let us know what you want us to do this specific format with. There's a lot of bands I've never checked out because I just didn't know, and I wasn't ever interested in them. So, yeah. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Hope it was worth the wait. I hope I can get this out to you in a timely manner. Not that it matters because we didn't listen to anything recent. But anyway, thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you guys for being here. And we will try to see you and be with you again next time.